As President Trump tries to pin blame on Kamala Harris for the colossal political failures of the past 3.5 years, Joe Biden wants to set the record straight. Trump's right.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
There are many things to conclude from that clip, but the clearest takeaway is that Joe Biden absolutely hates Kamala Harris and hopes she loses. That was pretty clear when Biden wore the Trump hat in Pennsylvania and posed smiling in the hat for cameras, but it is perfectly clear now. People will say, Bob, Biden's losing his marbles. Yeah, sure. Biden is losing his marbles, but he's got politics all the way down to his bones. Joe Biden's political sense will be the last thing to go. Biden has never seemed to like Kamala all that much. Why would he when she launched her presidential campaign in 2020 by calling him a racist and basically bullying him into picking her for his running mate? But I will tell you the exact moment that Biden decided to shiv Kamala on the campaign trail in 2024. It happened 15 days ago when Kamala said this at her debate with Trump.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
Au contraire, Kamala. Your boss says that you are Joe Biden, that you pretty much were the president. And though Joe Biden is prone to lying, here he's actually telling the truth. We know this because Biden publicly gave her presidential authority over the border all the way back in 2021. We have the White House transcript. We've read it on this show. Then 17 days ago, Kamala copy and pasted Joe Biden's campaign platform to her website. Whether she likes it or not, Kamala's legacy is Biden's legacy. Do not take my word for it. The sitting Democrat president said it himself. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. New photos show a UFO being shot down, or just slightly before being shot down, by a U.S. fighter jet flying over Canada. What does it mean? Look over there. Look, is that Bigfoot over there? Pay no attention to the political issues in the country. What does it mean? What does it mean that people are so obsessed with UFOs? We will get to it because it is urgently important. First, though, I've been on the road for about 3 days, and it was fun. It was good to be out in Los Angeles. I was filming some episodes of the book club at PragerU. It's all great. But one thing I really, really missed, other than my wife and kids, was Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com/Knowles as we approach the upcoming election. Want to remind you, you don't just cast your vote at the ballot box every 4 years. You do it every day with your dollar. That's why I trust Good Ranchers for all my meat. The meat is exclusively from American farms. You're getting 100% American meat, no antibiotics, no hormones, definitely no seed oils. Right now, you get the presidential promo for a limited time. You will get a free add-on for 4 whole years. And on top of the presidential promo, you can get the Knowles box. Write it down. The Good Ranchers Knowles box. That is my custom box made to my exquisite taste. goodranchers.com/Knowles. You will get an additional $25 off your first box. You will get free express shipping. You will get your presidential add-on worth about $1,200. And that's on top of already the best deal on the best meat that you are going to get. goodranchers.com/Knowles. Head on over there, select my box or any box, but really my box. Use code Knowles. goodranchers.com/Knowles. Promo code Knowles. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Kamala getting just tossed right under that bus by Joe Biden. I'm not Biden. I am a new generation of leadership. I'm not Biden. Biden instantly, 5 seconds later. Oh yeah, she's me. She's me. She had presidential authority all these 3.5 years. Things went bad. It's her fault. Kamala Harris not helping herself very much on the campaign trail because she says that the American dream is getting away from people, okay? The policies of recent years are making all sorts of things that Americans desire, such as home ownership, elusive.
Home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Gone is the day of everyone thinking they can live the American dream. Who's been president for the last 3.5 years? Joe Biden. Joe Biden says Kamala has been the last person in the room with me making decisions. She has presidential authority. That's why she's ready on day one, is because I've delegated to her domestic policy, foreign policy. Kamala is me. It's a 2-for-1 deal with this presidency, and Joe Biden's policies were copied and pasted to her website. But even forget about Kamala and Joe. Who was president before them? Trump for 4 years. Who was president before Trump? Obama for 8 years. And then think about this. Who was Obama's vice president? Joe Biden. So Joe Biden runs for president in 2020, more or less as Barack Obama's third term. And then who was vice president for Joe Biden? Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is running on the same platform as Joe Biden. So you have had the same political party controlling the White House for almost 12 of the last 16 years. The vast majority of the last 16 years has not only been one party, but it's been the same people. You go from Obama to Obama's vice president, and then when Obama's vice president is in charge, he gives presidential authority to his vice president, who's now the nominee. In recent years, the American dream's gotten away from people. Yeah, that can only be your fault. And you are running on what? We need to change the way our government works. And that's why you need to reelect the exact same people who have been running the government for the vast majority of the last 16 years. This woman is not making a great case here. Now, one of her problems is that she can barely speak the English language. That, however, is looking up. We have breaking news. Kamala Harris has learned a new word.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars, and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing for working people.
Holistically. Holistic people who holistically will be able to afford holistic housing, which they can't now because we, the Democrats, have holistically hollowed out the entire country for almost 2 decades now. Holistically. What does the word holistically mean? I looked up the etymology of holistically when she kept saying holistically. And it's a relatively newly coined word. The word was coined in 1926. This term holism. And what is holism? It refers to a whole, thinking of things as a whole. Now, there are other words that are much older than holistic that do that. Words like integral, integrity, coherent. Coherent is a word that has never been applied to Kamala Harris. It seems like kind of a lib word to me. It's the new synergy or something. It's just a filler word. It's getting at an important point. Kamala Harris says we need to look at the whole country. We need to consider all the parts, not just one part over the others. But would anyone accuse Kamala Harris of coherence or of having a coherent approach to the economy or foreign policy? Or no? And the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, because everyone has frayed while Kamala and Biden and Obama have had power. The country has not been coming together, kumbaya, every part's working together in harmony. The country has been fraying. It's been fragmenting. We have so much needless division. Even if you're the biggest Kamala fan in the world, you're a huge Dem, even you would have to agree with me. This is the criticism. They say, this country is far too divided, right? I guess Kamala has been failing at the holism. This whole interview that she just gave, this whole holistic interview on MSNBC was kind of a joke. This woman, though, who was interviewing her, she really asked the tough questions. This is MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle drilling down on what all the Americans want to know about Kamala Harris.
The first one, just a fact check, because your opponent
There is
almost
no little
every
job.
day. Okay,
There's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair. Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay, now the other job. But
it was not a small job. Like, I did the fries. I mean,
I did work at McDonald's. There's no evidence that Kamala ever did work at McDonald's other than her word, which is worthless. But okay, let's say she did work at McDonald's. Kamala Harris goes on in this interview to make a decent point. You heard her there at the top. She said, there's no such thing as a little job. Okay, when I was working at McDonald's, that's just a job. And now I'm trying to get another job. It's the presidency. So it seems like it's pandering a little bit because we would all say the presidency is a bigger job than, well, any job in the country. But you say, no, there are no jobs that are small, okay? Work is work. Jobs are jobs. And she says, no, the point is, now in America, you can't raise a family working on a wage at McDonald's. She says, when I worked at McDonald's, I was a student, which is true for a lot of people. But if I were an adult at that point, if I had a husband, if I had kids, it would be very, very difficult to raise a family on a McDonald's wage. That's true. And there are going to be some conservatives who will respond and say, well, you're not supposed to work at McDonald's forever. McDonald's is supposed to be an entry-level job, and then you're supposed to, I guess you could become a manager or something like that, or you're supposed to go on and work someplace else. That's the libertarian, business conservative response. But I think that's evading the question. Some people do work at McDonald's for much later in their lives, and there are a huge number of Americans who work jobs that don't pay a lot of money for much of their lives, or most of their lives, or all of their lives. That's just a fact. So you can't just write it off and say, no, you'll just work there for a little bit and then you'll move on and get a bigger job and then we'll all be zillionaires. No, some people aren't going to be zillionaires. In fact, virtually no one's going to become a zillionaire, and a lot of people are going to work tough jobs that don't pay a lot of money, and it's going to be hard to pay the bills, and it's going to be tough to pay the mortgage, and it's especially going to be tough to pay all those things when the cost of groceries is going up 23% in 3 years. And so let's deal with the real problem. How do you help many, many Americans who are working jobs that are kind of tough, that are basically thankless, and that don't pay a lot of money? Because right now, Republicans have ceded all that ground to Democrats. And Republicans for decades have looked uncaring and out of touch and like rich Uncle Pennybags, which is ironic because Democrats are actually the party of rich Uncle Pennybags. Democrats are the party of big business. Democrats are the party of Wall Street. So why are we ceding that ground to them? What we have to point out is Kamala talks like she cares about the little guy and not making a lot of money, working a hard job, overlooked by our big political interests, but she doesn't help them at all. And here's the proof of this. If Kamala Harris runs on, we need to raise the wages for workers at McDonald's. We need to mandate through the government that the wages go up for the McDonald's workers. What's the consequence of that? Have you been to a McDonald's recently? I really like McDonald's. I was at McDonald's 2 days ago, and I got 2 delicious Egg McMuffins. And do you know how I ordered my Egg McMuffins? Did I talk to a nice McDonald's worker, as I have for many years in the past? No, I walked up to a computer screen because the consequence, and this was in California, of course, Kamala's state, which has all of these super lib laws that pretend to help the working class and the poor, oppressed little guy working a tough job. Well, the consequence of that is those people just lose their jobs. And the consequence of that is that those workers get replaced by computer screens. So now students don't get job training. The people who are working a tough job trying to raise a family, they don't make a single penny out of that. It's a completely counterproductive economic policy. That's what we got to point out. We got to point out that their policies are bad for everyone, for the economy as a whole, holistically, but also especially for the American worker. Democrats are not on the side of the American worker. Republicans are on the side of the American worker. And I think our policies broadly are much better for the American worker. I think for that little 4-year period over the last 16 that Republicans actually have been in the White House, the American worker has done a lot better. The economy as a whole has done a lot better. And we're not just the party of the plutocrats or the aristocrats. We're not that at all. That's what the Democrats are right now. So don't cede that ground to them. Don't speak down to people who have, so-called small jobs. No, Kamala's right about that one thing. Nobody has a small job. Work, honest work, is a dignified and dignifying activity. Talk like that. The Democrats don't practice what they preach, and the Republicans don't preach what we practice. The Democrats, say what you will about them, they're a lot better at PR. They are able to sell their rotten policies in a really effective way. We should at least be able to speak properly of our good policies. And we got to talk about these things. When you want to talk to your friends and family, you got to check out Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. I'm going to let you in on a little wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to think that you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Most of us are buying way more data than we need. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you can choose how much data you actually want and save. For just $35 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network. Here's the best part. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you'll get 1 year free of DailyWire Plus Insider. That's access to the library of DW Plus movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Burcham, and Run, Hide, Fight. Uncensored ad-free daily shows, 1 year free of our kids' platform, Bent Key, and a free Leftist Tears tumbler. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, or by calling and mentioning my name. Stop overpaying for your cell phone plan. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles today. Switch to a qualifying plan. Get 1 year free of DailyWire Plus Insider. Speaking of people being replaced by computers, this is pretty spooky. The CEO of OpenAI, which is the company behind ChatGPT, this is Sam Altman, he is predicting that ChatGPT will be smarter than any human being in a few thousand days. Not a few thousand years, not a few thousand months, a few thousand days. That means what? 5 years, 10 years, that ChatGPT will be smarter than any human. He writes, this is a huge blog post on the future of intelligence, but I'll just read you a paragraph or two. In the next couple decades, we will be able to do things that would have seemed like magic to our grandparents. Our children will have virtual tutors who can provide personalized instruction on any subject in any language and at whatever pace they need. We can imagine similar ideas for better healthcare, the ability to create any kind of software someone can imagine, and much more. How did we get to the doorstep of the next leap in prosperity? In 3 words, deep learning worked. It's not just that you got a bunch of geniuses programming computers to make cool stuff. We have actually cracked the code on how logarithmically to have machines learn to do stuff so that the machines just get better and better and better the more that they run. Final point, many of the jobs we do today would look like trifling wastes of time to people a few hundred years ago. You hear the worries about this new technology. They say, well, it's going to replace so many people in their jobs and they're going to be out of work and this is terrible. And Altman is saying, no, look, there are a ton of jobs from the past that would look like a waste of time today, all right? And many jobs that we have today would look like a waste of time to people hundreds of years ago. It's just the society has radically changed. He says nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. If a lamplighter could see the world today, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. And if we could fast forward 100 years from today, the prosperity all around us would feel just as unimaginable. So you know that the lib response to this is, let's go, baby. This is awesome. Bring on the AI. Let me upload my consciousness. Let me become one with the Borg and plug into the Matrix. This is great. Full steam ahead. And what's the conservative response going to be? The conservative response to this news is, the West has fallen. We're all doomed. Billions and billions of people will die. Everything is terrible. The age of glory is over. And that's how the left and the right react to everything. But How ought we to react to this? It seems to me that AI, this major advance in technology that has largely proven itself already, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Like all major technological leaps, like all technology, I guess, just in general, it can be awesome or it can be awful. Nuclear fission, awesome, really cool, can do really great stuff like power civilizations quite efficiently, maintain world order through imperial hegemony. Okay, that's good too. Or it can blow up entire cities. Not great. The internet can allow us to connect to people, to educate ourselves, to work jobs and still stay with our families, and can allow us to do lots of great stuff. Or we can look at and order drugs and do contract killings. The internet, it's one or the other. What is AI going to do? It could be used for good. It could be used for bad, which means the most crucial public education that we need right now is not in technology. That's what you're going to hear from all these people. We just need to train people to work with this AI. We need to teach people to learn how to code. We need to make sure that more students are studying engineering. That's the new public education need that is brought about by AI. No, that's totally the wrong conclusion. This new technology means that the actual pressing educational need is not in technology, but in ethics. That's where we suffer from ignorance right now. That's what's going to be tested. That's what's going to determine whether the technology is a good thing or a bad thing, is if we possess the ethical know-how and discipline to use it well. If I were running a university or a high school or a middle school or elementary school for that matter, and I saw AI on the horizon, this will happen, this is going to be a radical technological shift, this is going to change the way that we work and we live, and I agree with Sam Altman, I think all that's true, then the first thing I would do is reorder my curricula to make sure that students are being taught ethics, how to deal with these things. Because if we don't have a proper ethical framework and good moral habituation and training, AI is going to destroy us. And if we do have some discipline and we do have some ethical know-how and we do think clearly through these issues, AI really could be the wonderful thing that the libs think that it could be. Now, one dilemma that often hampers people in their development is debt, which is why you ought to check out Done With Debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. You did not vote for this recession, but you pay for it at the pump, at the grocery store, and with that growing stack of bills. If you're one of millions of Americans being crushed by financial stress right now, the solution is donewithdebt.com. Unlike some of the other guys, Done With Debt has new aggressive strategies that get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done With Debt stands between you and bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, and stop penalties. Done With Debt is accepting new clients right now, but you need to hurry because some of their debt strategies are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Let Done With Debt hit the debt reset button for you and make your money yours again. Again, this is time sensitive. You need to visit donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 right now. Chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. That is donewithdebt.com. Go to donewithdebt.com today. Speaking of scary new technology, new photos show UFOs over Canada just moments before a U.S. fighter jet shoots them down. It's not just any UFOs, it's a cylindrical UFO. And we've heard about these cylindrical UFOs before. We've heard about Tic Tacs, all sorts of unidentified flying objects that seem to defy the laws of gravity, or at least the laws of aviation as we popularly, the public, we understand aviation. Well, we got a grainy, blurry image. They're always grainy, blurry images. Picking up this cylindrical suspected balloon, or some kind of UFO, 40,000 feet above the Great White North in February of last year. It was taken down by the U.S., and the only reason that this image has been released to the public now, to CTV News, is that there was a Freedom of Information request sent of Canada's Department of National Defense. It was an American plane that shot down the object. It's an F-22. It tracked it over Alaska 8 days earlier. I think a lot of people had concluded that it was China because China sent those spy balloons over the U.S. You remember a year or so ago, it kind of fell out of the news, but that China had these spy balloons just going across the whole United States, and we weren't shooting them down for some reason, and we were tracking them, and it was an embarrassing news story for several days. Joe Biden says that these 3 objects were shot down, but were maybe not Chinese. Says there were no, quote, suggestions they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. So that means that either Biden is speaking in particular language that is misleading but not an outright lie. So there were no suggestions that this was a spy balloon from the Chinese program. What does that mean? There were no suggestions. It's kind of mealy-mouthed language. So it could be that. Could be that Biden is just lying, and we know for a fact that it was China or some other country, and we're just trying to hide that for diplomatic reasons. It could be telling the truth. They just really don't know where these things come from. But the fact that they always seem to have some kind of military detail to them, whether we're talking about where the UFOs are flying, how the UFOs are brought down, how the UFOs are being surveilled, whatever. That fact makes me strongly suspect it's some kind of military vehicle, foreign or domestic. It could be our own vehicle too, in some cases. The whole story, though, the whole story to me is really about the story. The fact that people are so fascinated with UFOs and they don't want to believe that it's military. And conversely, they don't want to believe that it's spiritual. They don't want to believe that it's an angel or a demon. Most people would laugh you out of the room if you suggested that. Though some of us have pointed out that there are powers of the air, and if you have any religion really whatsoever, you recognize there's spiritual reality. And so statistically, every single person who's ever lived on Earth, including the very most intelligent people, have believed in angels and demons for all of history. But today, we modern people, we laugh at that. No. It's definitely not an angel or a demon, and it's probably not a Chinese spy. What is it? Oh, it's E.T. It's a Martian coming to people. There are many, many people who believe that. Oh, the truth is out there, man. The little green men are flying over Canada. People want to conclude that this is little green men because it makes us feel good. That's why. Because both the spiritual and the terrestrial explanations for UFOs are much scarier. That's why they want to believe, because little green men, despite all manner of Hollywood movies and Independence Day, little green men are not threatening to us. We just think they're kind of cute and weird, and we actually think of E.T. or Yoda or something like that. But if it's China, let's say it's China just flying military aircraft over our country regularly, that's really scary. It means we might enter into a world war. If these unidentified objects are spiritual, if they're demons, say, or even if they're angels, that's really scary to people. Scary in a kind of uncanny or numinous way. C.S. Lewis, I forget in which book, describes different kinds of scariness. And he says, there's the fear that one has when one hears that there's a tiger in the next room because he's afraid that the tiger will come in and eat him. But then there's the fear that one has when one hears that there's a ghost in the next room. He's not afraid that the ghost is going to come in and eat him or something. He's afraid that there are ghosts. He's afraid that there is something in reality that we don't understand, that we don't really know very much of anything about. That's what's so scary. And then there's the holy fear of God, which he describes as numinous, which is the highest kind of awe and wonder and holy fear. But that's why people don't want the spiritual or the terrestrial explanation. No, it's got to be little green men. And little green men, unlike the Chinese, they don't want to come in and do our country harm and exercise a lot of political power. But also, unlike the angels and demons, they don't really make us rethink our simplistic materialist view of reality that is not really justifiable in any philosophical or even scientific way, but is just really kind of comforting because it means there's no moral universe and we're not accountable for what we do. And there is not more in heaven and earth and is dreamt of in our philosophy, Horatio. That's why. That's why they want little green men. But it ain't little green men, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble. It's something far more real. Because adversaries on earth and adversaries of the principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness are both a lot more real than ET. Now, speaking of foreigners, there is a Haitian group that wants President Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, to be criminally prosecuted. That is a Haitian community group. This is called the Haitian Bridge Alliance. They are trying to invoke a private citizen right to file charges, criminal charges, against Trump and his running mate because Trump and his running mate have suggested it's not good to barbecue cats and dogs. Over what they call the chaos and threats experienced in Springfield, Ohio, the Haitian Bridge Alliance wants to prosecute these guys. I don't know, throw Trump and J.D. Vance in jail. To which I say, you want to throw Trump in jail, get in line, take a number, okay? Plenty of other libs are trying to imprison Trump because they're so afraid that he's going to win re-election if the people have the chance to vote for him. But what's so crazy about this one, the Haitian Bridge Alliance, is these people aren't even Americans. I suppose some of them could be Americans, but it's not called the Haitian American Bridge Alliance. And these hundreds of thousands of Haitians who are here in America are not American citizens. They were imported by the Biden-Harris administration, and some of them have been given amnesty or temporary protective status or this or that, but they're not actually American citizens. So now you got a situation in America in which a bunch of foreign nationals are trying to effectively imprison a former president, current leading presidential nominee, because the American presidential candidate and his running mate are proposing an immigration policy. That's what's going on here. Because our former president and hopefully future president is campaigning in an election, a bunch of foreign nationals want to prosecute him. Call me an old fuddy-duddy. Call me a backward-looking conservative. I don't think foreigners should be prosecuting our leaders for engaging in our own political process. This is why conservatives are turning against the idea of the American empire. I've talked a lot in recent days about the American empire. Why is it that Vladimir Zelensky is in America campaigning with Kamala Harris, the Democrat nominee for president? Why is Vladimir Zelensky, who's supposed to be the head of a sovereign foreign country, why is he over here complaining about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance? I pointed out because Ukraine's not really a sovereign country. And Vladimir Zelensky is not really just the democratically elected leader of an independent country. I don't even think they hold elections in Ukraine anymore. Ukraine is just part of the American empire, and Vladimir Zelensky is a vassal. He's a viceroy in some far-flung part of the American empire. That's why it makes sense that he's over here mouthing off about American elections. And we do have an empire. We are the global hegemon. We have territories all over the world. We have actual U.S. states all over the world. We got Alaska, we got Hawaii. We have overseas territories in Samoa and Guam. We got Puerto Rico. And then we have American troops everywhere. I remember when I was a wee lad and I was thinking about American sovereignty and the nation state and, I don't know, the Jeffersonian ideal of the yeoman farmer. I said, why? We've got to be just a normal country. And then I realized that we have something called CENTCOM, and we have something called AFRICOM, and we have an African command of the American military. Yeoman farmer republics don't have AFRICOM, okay? We are the global empire, and that's just a fact. And some conservatives are turning against that fact right now. And you know what? I don't blame them. In fact, I totally sympathize with that point of view, because this Haitian group, the Haitian Bridge Alliance, is saying, yeah, we're not Americans. We were brought here thanks to the generosity or cynicism of Democrats in power. And now we're going to try to exercise political authority as if this were our own country. And I say, you know what, guys? Get out. How about that? How about if you're a foreign national and you're here thanks to our generosity and the opportunism of some of our politicians, And you're going to try to imprison my presidential nominee? Get out. I don't want you here. You're screwing things up, okay? And you're disrespecting our traditions, and you're not learning our language, and you're crashing your cars into our buildings. And so an extreme version of this is you're practicing your weird religion called voodoo, which is really bad and occult and evil. And there are reports of ducks and geese and household pets going missing. And because President Trump raised that prospect, and the liberal establishment said, no, that can't possibly be happening, you want to throw the guy in jail. So you know what? No thanks. I've had enough empire, okay? I think we've welcomed enough people. Is it 60 million people enough in the last slightly more than half century? Is that enough? I think it probably is. That's why conservatives are turning against the American empire. And can you blame them? I certainly cannot. It feels to many, many people as though we are losing our country, which is a feeling that recently got the great Roseanne Barr in trouble. We will get to that in one moment. First, though, one of the most anticipated events of the 2024 election, I would say one of the most anticipated events of the 21st century, is coming to DailyWire Plus on Tuesday night. And that is our backstage about the 2024 vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. We are doing a special backstage with pre-show analysis from Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan, Jeremy Boring, and I would say most importantly, yours truly. Now, you can stick around for a post-debate breakdown with exclusive insights. So instead of yelling at your TV alone, come yell with us at the vice presidential debate on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on DailyWire Plus. Once again, wow, I'm just seeing this. I'm seeing this for the first time. Blue Green Lady. She was a wonderful woman. I'm seeing this for the first time, but I picked my favorite comment today, just reading the comment, and it was once again Drummers Workshop at Norm's Music, because we're on the same wavelength, and even though there are many zillions of commenters on all these episodes, this guy, he and I, we're so close we can almost finish each other's sandwiches. He writes, Diddy said his parties are breaking down generational barriers. Guess I'll add that to the list of leftist euphemisms. Yeah, wow, that's a new one, huh? The libs want to break down generational barriers at their... I mean, that's what they do when they change the curricula in the elementary schools. A lot of people feel like we're losing our country. One of those people is Roseanne Barr, who recently, at an appearance with Tucker Carlson, got in all sorts of hot water for claiming that the Democrats have effectively overthrown the government.
They overthrew the government of our country, and they haven't even answered for it. And that pisses me off!
First off, Roseanne Barr is a national treasure. Protect Roseanne at all costs. You never, under any circumstance, have to agree with the libs when they are attacking Roseanne. You basically never have to agree with the libs when they're attacking anyone on the right, but do not. Roseanne must be protected. She is very, very funny. Is she even on the right? I don't even know that Roseanne's on the right. She has her own views. She's very, very funny. She has a keen insight into a whole number of matters. And she's heterodox. She doesn't go along with the liberal establishment. And so they hate her now, even though she was one of the most famous mainstream comedians in the country for decades. What did she say? She said the Democrats overthrew the government in 2020. What is so controversial about what she said? Think about what the Democrats say about 2020. They say that the Republicans very nearly overthrew the government. They launched a coup d'etat and an insurrection because the Republicans protested dubious election procedures and worked through the Congress and the Senate to raise questions about that election in a precedented way following the Compromise of 1877. It's a long-standing precedented way. Republicans raised some questions and then what? And some Republicans went to a protest in Washington, D.C. and then showed up at the Capitol, and some of them took selfies in the Capitol Rotunda. And that constituted very nearly overthrowing the American government. Meanwhile, what did the Democrats do in 2020? They changed all the election rules to benefit them. In the days and weeks before the election, they changed like all the election rules, in some cases unconstitutionally, as we see in the widespread mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania, to give themselves an advantage and to reduce the number of ballot security measures that were available and to increase the possibility for fraud and to just radically change how elections are conducted. So if you're going to call either one of those things an overthrow of the American political system, which is it? Is it the thing that Rachel Maddow and the left has been whining about? Or is it the point that Roseanne is making? Roseanne is being much more reasonable here than the entirety of the left, from the grassroots level all the way up to the presidential level, when Biden and Harris say that Trump opposes democracy. When you think about overthrowing the government, it would seem to me that the side whose supporters have attempted to murder the Republican nominee for president, the former president, twice in the last 100 days, probably deserves a little bit more of the blame. That's just me. Now, turning from Roseanne Barr to Bill Barr, who is no fan of Trump, Trump has been really harsh on Bill Barr. He's called him all sorts of names. Barr, however, has just agreed with a prospect that I raised on this show a couple days ago. He asked why the DOJ would release that letter from the second would-be assassin, alleged assassin of Trump, that made a $150,000 bounty on Trump's head. Bill Barr said the only reason that the DOJ would release that letter would be to incite further violence. Quote, I was dumbfounded that the DOJ made public this morning the contents of the letter that Ryan Routh left with an acquaintance prior to the attempted assassination of former President Trump. That served no purpose other than to risk inciting further violence, and the DOJ could have redacted inflammatory material in that letter. That's the other thing. The DOJ, when they release this kind of stuff, they have all sorts of redactions. Usually, in this case, they say, hey, anyone who finishes the job gets 150 Gs. The only conclusion one can draw is that the DOJ, the department that William Barr has run twice, don't forget, he's been the Attorney General twice at this point, 2 different presidents, that the DOJ was just trying to get Trump killed. Again. Trump was almost killed in Pennsylvania. They almost got him. They were so close. An inexplicable hair's breadth turn of his head is the only reason that Trump's opponents did not succeed in killing him there. Then they try again. Secret Service was a little bit more on alert, and so that one doesn't succeed. And now the DOJ is coming out. This is just Bill Barr's suggestion. DOJ is coming out saying, hey, who wants 150 Gs? Can anybody kill this guy? How come it's so hard to kill this guy? It's like the Roadrunner, we're Wile E. Coyote. 150 grand. Let me know. Maybe they'll post a higher bounty if they can't, the days are running short here. So if they can't get the job done, I don't know, maybe there'll be a new letter. Okay, we're up in the bounty to 300. Bill Barr is a prominent American Catholic, and speaking of prominent Catholics, really important, a bit of instruction just came out from the U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops, which sometimes is a little mealy-mouthed and sometimes is not as politically prudent as it ought to be. But here, the USCCB has said something really great. The Conference of Catholic Bishops has called on all Catholics to, quote, vote for candidates who will defend the life and dignity of the human person. The bishops have reminded Catholic voters that abortion remains, quote, a preeminent priority. It is morally imperative that Catholics, I think we could broaden this out to all self-professing Christians, must vote for the pro-life candidate. It is not possible to vote for a candidate who is, especially as we see in the case of Kamala Harris, extremely, radically, in principle, absolutely in favor of abortion. You can't do it. There are plenty of issues that Catholics and Christians broadly might disagree with Trump on. There are issues that I disagree with Trump on. But not all issues are the same. Just like not all crimes are the same. Jaywalking is not as serious as slaughtering a whole family. So too, not all political issues and political imperatives are the same. To quote John Paul II, life is not one issue among many. It is the fundamental right on which all of the other rights rely. If you are a Christian, you cannot vote for Kamala Harris in good conscience. It is not possible to do. And there is an even deeper political lesson here as the Catholic bishops are talking to Catholics. If you want to do the right thing, you can't vote for Harris. And there are two candidates, really, and you should vote for Trump. But if you want to have political power at all as Catholics, you have to take this issue seriously. If you want to have any political voice at all. Because there has to be cohesion in order for a political voting bloc to have any power. If the political voting bloc just dissipates and votes according to all other reasoning, then there just isn't a Catholic vote. There isn't a Jewish vote, or there isn't a urban vote, or there isn't a suburban mom vote, or there isn't. You have to actually vote together on certain issues in order to have any political power at all. We'll see if the Catholics follow suit. I think they should. Now, speaking of the life issue, I'm very pleased to say that we have Aaron Hawley coming on the show to discuss the latest in abortion radicalism from 2024. The rest of the show continues. Now, you do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.
The stage is set. The stakes are sky high. Senator Vance, Governor Waltz, face off. But who will land the knockout punch? Don't watch the debate alone. Experience it with the most trusted names in conservative media. DailyWire Backstage brings you unfiltered commentary, biting wit, and expert analysis you won't get anywhere else. Join Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, and Jeremy Boring for a debate night you'll never forget. Daily Wire Backstage, Tuesday, October 1st, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, only on Daily Wire Plus.